The laughter hit me before the announcement even landed. My sister Andrea stood at the center of my parents' oversized living room as if she'd been practicing that stance in the mirror for years. Her voice rang out with theatrical confidence. Mom and Dad decided all 10 rental apartments in Texas go to me. Then she turned, eyes locking on mine with wicked delight. Too bad you're getting nothing, sis. The room erupted. Uncles clapped. Aunties exchanged knowing looks. My mother's smile stretched from one side of her face to the other like she'd been waiting for this coronation. My father, sitting with his legs crossed and hands folded, nodded slowly as if this were the most reasonable decision ever made. I didn't clap. I didn't frown. I didn't blink. I just watched. Observed. Absorbed every detail, especially the slight tremor in his right hand that always appeared when he was hiding something. And when the applause softened into murmurs, I smiled gently and said, "Dad, I guess you really don't know, do you?" The room froze. Andrea whipped her head toward me. "Know what?" she snapped, her voice cracking, the fragile edge beneath her arrogance exposed for the first time all morning. But before I answered, before I even breathed in enough oxygen to form the next sentence, my mind drifted, not away, but backward, to the place where this story really began. Growing up, Andrea had always been the family's golden child. She shone without effort. She existed loudly, laughed loudly, demanded loudly, and somehow the world applauded her for it every single time. Even as kids, her birthdays looked like mini-weddings, balloons, hired clowns, cakes with multiple tiers. Mine usually consisted of a store-bought cupcake and my mom saying she'd make it up to me next year. Next year never came. Andrea knew she was special because our parents told her so. At school, teachers adored her. She had the charisma that made adults overlook everything, even the things she did wrong. If she forgot homework, she was too busy with extracurriculars. If I forgot mine, once, I was careless. I learned to blend into silence, to study quietly, to clean up after her, to go unnoticed in a house that rewarded noise but punished need. When I turned 16 and asked for help applying to a college summer program, my parents laughed and said we didn't have the money. That same week, Andrea got a brand new iPhone because she needed it for school. So I learned early not to wait for fairness. My family owned 10 rental apartments scattered across Houston, Austin, and Dallas. Properties my parents had built slowly through years of sacrifice. Except the sacrifice came mostly from my father. My mother contributed praise, opinions, and a shocking ability to claim credit for work she never touched. But bloodlines didn't matter. Contributions didn't matter. History didn't matter. Andrea mattered. So when I left for college on a scholarship, nobody accompanied me. Not even a goodbye dinner. My parents said they were busy dealing with property issues, which I later found out meant they were attending a celebratory dinner Andrea had organized for winning some regional beauty contest. I left the house that morning feeling more like a tenant moving out than a daughter leaving home. College was quiet, freeing, ordinary. I studied accounting, worked part-time, built a life without the echo of comparison haunting me. My family rarely called. Andrea posted glamorous photos online. My parents reposted them with long emotional captions. I sent my dad my Dean's List certificate. He responded with a thumbs-up emoji. The only person who truly stayed in my life was my grandmother. My father's mother, a firecracker of a woman who lived on a modest ranch outside San Antonio. She called me her quiet storm. She noticed things. She asked questions. She remembered my birthday every single year, always with a handwritten letter tucked inside her gift. She never favored Andrea. She simply saw me. And one December, she asked me to visit her. "Just come," she said. "Bring a notebook." When I arrived, she didn't waste time. She handed me a binder, heavy, bound, organized with frightening precision. Inside were financial statements, rent logs, expense reports, bank transfers, all connected to the rental apartments. Some numbers didn't match. Rent was missing. Repairs were paid out twice. Maintenance fees were exaggerated. Your sister's been handling the finances? I asked, brows furrowing. My grandmother nodded. And she's been helping herself to the money. She flipped another tab. More evidence. Then another. And another. I wasn't shocked. Andrea had been stealing my entire childhood. Attention, praise, resources. Money was simply the adult version of what she'd always done. Then my grandmother handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a notarized living trust. All 10 properties, every single one, were already signed into a trust under her name. And I was the successor. People show who they are when they think no one will notice, she said. You noticed. That's why these go to you. I cried harder than I expected. Not because of the apartments, though owning 10 rentals before turning 24 was surreal. No, I cried because someone finally chose me. Don't tell them, she warned. When the time comes, they'll show you who they are. The time came faster than either of us expected. She passed away peacefully 8 months later. My parents didn't bother to tell me until after the funeral arrangements were made. Yet I still came. I stood, grieving silently while my family performed their usual theatrics. My mother cried loudly. Andrea arranged herself dramatically for photographs by the casket. My father looked exhausted but proud, receiving condolences like acceptance speeches. After the funeral, my mother pulled me aside. We're having a family meeting this Saturday, she said. It's about the apartments. You should come. I already knew what was coming. Which brings me back to the living room. The laughter, the announcement, the arrogant little tilt of Andrea's chin as she declared ownership of something she had no legal ties to anymore. So, she demanded again. No what? I walked forward slowly, each step deliberate. All eyes followed me, confusion snaking through the room. Dad, I said gently, did you ever read Grandma's trust? His face went blank. What trust? The one she signed 2 years ago. I opened my bag and pulled out a slim folder. Andrea scoffed. Documents don't mean anything if Mom and Dad decide. They weren't hers to give, I interrupted softly. Then I placed the stack of papers on the coffee table. The room went silent. Air tightened. My father's hand trembled again. What is this? He whispered. Grandma transferred all 10 rental apartments into her living trust. I'm the legal successor. These properties haven't belonged to you or Mom for 2 years. Gasps erupted. Andrea lunged forward, grabbing one of the papers. This is fake. It has to be. The county clerk's stamp is right there, I said. You can call them. I already verified everything. My mother's face drained of color. Why didn't she tell us? She did, I said. You just didn't listen. My father dropped into his chair like his body had forgotten how to hold itself. Andrea, did you know about this? She stuttered. Dad, why would she get them? She doesn't even live in Texas. I handled everything. No, I corrected. You mishandled everything. Grandma found the siphoned money. Every missing dollar. Every inflated expense. Every lie. My sister stepped back as if I'd slapped her. My uncle grabbed a document and scanned it rapidly. This is all legal, he whispered. Completely airtight. The attorney my parents invited for the meeting finally spoke up. I suggest everyone sit down. Your daughter, he nodded toward me, owns the properties. There's nothing to dispute. My mother started to cry, not grief, not sadness, but the shock of losing control. Andrea broke first. She pointed at me, shaking. "You stole this from me." "No," I said calmly. "I inherited what Grandma chose to give. You just assumed you'd get it." My father looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "Why didn't you say anything?" I met his gaze without flinching. "Because I was taught to stay quiet. Turns out that was the best strategy." Andrea stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. I picked up my folder, slid the documents back inside, and held it against my chest. "I'll manage the properties from now on," I said. Professionally, transparently, and alone. No one stopped me. That night, driving back to my apartment, I felt something in me unclench, something that had been tight since childhood. Not triumph. Not revenge exactly. Just clarity. Clean, final clarity. My phone vibrated with messages. My mother begging, Andrea threatening, my father apologizing. I muted them all. As I stepped onto my balcony, city lights blinking below, I whispered the words my grandmother once told me. People show who they are when they think no one will notice. Today they noticed. And so did I. Moral lessons. This story reminds us that family isn't defined by blood alone. It's defined by respect, fairness, and the willingness to treat each other with dignity. Entitlement and greed may win temporary victories, but integrity always wins the final battle. Never let anyone convince you that your value depends on what you receive from them. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply becoming someone they can no longer control or underestimate. And if life ever puts you in a room where everyone is laughing at your downfall, stay calm, because the loudest people often know the least about your strength. Let your growth, your independence, and your confidence speak for you. Protect your boundaries, trust your worth, and always remember, you don't need anyone's permission to rise.